Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking into something pretty fundamental, drawing from the school of life, an emotional education.
That's right.
And here's the idea that really, well, it stopped me cold.
Yeah.
We spend years learning calculus, history, whatever. But how we handle our own emotions, disappointment, love, anxiety, we just assume that's, well, automatic, instinctive.
And that's the big misunderstanding our sources really want to tackle.
Right.
Our mission today really is to challenge that idea that emotional health is just something you're born with or not.
Right.
This anthology argues emotional maturity isn't some mystery. It's actually a set of skills you can learn.
Learnable skills. I like that.
And we're going to dig into why society is, frankly, quite bad at teaching them, which the sources suggest leads to all sorts of problems. Personal ones, even national ones.
That part. The idea that big national crises often start with emotional ignorance, that's huge.
It is.
We think economics, strategy, but maybe it's simpler. Or harder, I guess. Just not being able to deal with feelings properly.
Exactly. So think of this deep dive as maybe a shortcut, a way to start building that emotional toolkit we all seem to be missing.
Okay, so where does this neglect come from? Why don't we teach this stuff?
Well, to get at that, the sources take us back, way back to the 18th century, actually. They talk about something called the romantic hangover.
The romantic hangover. Okay, I'm intrigued. We're the troubled inheritors of this view.
That's the phrase they use, yeah. Basically, Romanticism distrusted applying reason or method or learning to feeling.
It preferred, what, spontaneity, intuition.
Exactly. Gut feelings, deep passions erupting naturally. That was seen as the ideal.
So if you think feelings should just happen, then trying to learn emotional skills, it seems fake.
Or calculating. Maybe even cynical, like you're trying to game your own emotions or someone else's.
Right, so that mindset just pushed emotional learning aside, made it seem unnecessary, or maybe even impossible, unteachable.
Yeah, it got left to, well, instinct, which is often pretty haphazard, let's be honest.
Which explains why emotional intelligence, EI, can sound a bit strange, like mixing oil and water.
But the material's quite clear. Intelligence isn't just one thing. It's not monolithic.
We get that with other things, right? Like math intelligence or musical intelligence.
Or even cooking. Culinary intelligence. EI is just another set of skills focused on a specific area.
Okay.
And here's the kicker, according to the sources, you can have all the PhDs in the world and still be astonishingly capable of messing up your life because you lack these basic emotional skills.
Ouch. Okay, so let's get specific. What are these skills? Especially thinking about relationships. The sources say love is a skill, not just a feeling. That sounds, well, deeply unromantic.
It does, doesn't it? But think about it. Feelings come and go. They can be unreliable.
True. Infatuation definitely fades.
But skills are dependable. You can practice them, deploy them, even when the initial passionate feeling isn't, front and center. The skill is what sustains love.
Okay, I can see that. So what skills are we talking about? More than just being nice?
Oh, much more. It's about introspection, knowing yourself, vulnerability, being able to show weakness, real communication.
In reading others.
Yes, reading the moods of others, but with charity, with imagination, not just jumping to conclusions.
Okay.
And they also mention something called selective resignation.
Selective resignation. What's that?
It's basically the wisdom to know what's worth fighting about in a relationship and what's just noise, Your partner's annoying habits, maybe you just resign yourself to some of them.
Choosing your battles wisely.
Exactly. And that takes real skill, acquired skill, not just instinct.
It makes me think about how we track growth. The book points this out. When you're a kid, you're so focused on progress.
Oh, yeah. I'm 4.5. Every new word is a triumph.
Right. We measure everything, but then adulthood hits.
And suddenly, progress only means one thing. Career. Salary bumps, promotions, new titles.
We completely stop measuring or even noticing emotional growth.
You don't get a diploma for figuring out your anger issues or learning to be less anxious.
No, you definitely don't.
But that growth is happening, hopefully, over decades. We just mistake the lack of a formal measurement for a lack of actual development.
Okay, so if this emotional learning is so vital, where did people used to get it before we decided it was unteachable?
Well, for, most of human history, that guidance came primarily from religion.
Right. Religions provided the framework, the curriculum for how to live.
Absolutely. They dealt with meaning, ethics, emotional intelligence. If you were in despair or facing a crisis, you knew who to turn to, the priest, the rabbi, the imam. There was a system.
But then things changed. Mid-19th century, belief starts to fade for many.
Exactly. And that left this huge gap, a kind of civilization-wide emotional void. The big question was, what on earth could replace scripture?
And the answer someone came up with was culture.
Yes. Boldly articulated, the sources say. Culture, art, music, literature, philosophy that would fill the gap.
And people really bought into this.
Oh, massively. It led to this huge investment in cultural institutions, building libraries, concert halls, and especially museums.
They weren't just buildings. They were meant to be like secular churches.
Consciously so. The architectural details are fascinating. You mentioned the British Museum's Reading Room dome.
Having the exact same circumference as St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. That's not subtle.
Not at all. Or the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, commissioned from an actual church architect. It looked, for all the world, like a cathedral.
Wow. So the hope was, just by being in these beautiful, grand spaces, surrounded by masterpieces.
You would somehow absorb wisdom, ethical guidance, emotional maturity, like spiritual osmosis.
Yeah. Did it work?
Well, the sources deliver a pretty blunt verdict on that one.
Which
A resounding no. Culture has not replaced scripture in that sense.
So what are museums now then?
Mostly, they're described as smart filing cabinets for the art of the past.
Oof, that's harsh.
It is, but the point is about function. They preserve, they display, but they don't offer active emotional guidance.
The book makes a pointed comparison, doesn't it? Like, try showing up at the Met seeking forgiveness.
Huh. Yes. Or asking a curator for help with your existential dread or marital problems. You'd be swiftly removed, as they put it.
Right.
That deep human need for meaning, for consolation, the stuff religion used to engage with directly, it's basically considered out of bounds, even inappropriate, within these high cultural settings now.
So that grand societal project kind of failed to deliver on its emotional promise, which maybe pushes us towards something smaller scale, more personal.
Perhaps something like self-help. Even though that term makes a lot of us cringe.
Yeah, self-help definitely has an image problem, doesn't it? Sounds cheesy, maybe a bit scammy.
Totally. Synonymous with sentimentality, maybe even basic idiocy, as the source puts it rather bluntly.
But the idea behind it, helping yourself, that's actually quite profound, isn't it?
Absolutely noble. And we need to reclaim that idea, the sources argue.
They point out that some of the greatest thinkers weren't embarrassed by it. Aristotle, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius.
Their works were unmistakably works of self-help, trying to guide people on how to live well.
Montaigne, Proust. They were doing the same thing later on.
Exactly. They wrote these guys because they understood something fundamental about our minds, something conventional education often misses.
Yes.
How incredibly fragile our minds are, especially our memories for important emotional truths. The Greeks had a word for it, akrasia, weakness of will, or maybe endemic forgetting.
We assume learning is like saving a file, right? Once you understand something, it's locked in.
Yeah, like it's on the hard drive. But it's not, especially not with emotional insights. How to be patient, how to forgive yourself, how to manage fear.
We know these things are important, logically.
But we forget them constantly. Right when we need them most. Our anger flares up, our anxiety spikes. The lesson vanishes.
So we need ways to constantly remind ourselves, to reinforce these ideas.
Exactly. And humanity traditionally had tools for this. The sources highlight two big ones. The first is art.
Art as a tool for emotional education, not just for beauty or appreciating genius.
That was its original purpose, arguably, to make difficult, tough, or naughty lessons easier to absorb.
How?
By using beauty as a delivery mechanism. Beauty persuades us, makes us want to internalize the lesson.
Okay, give me an example.
Think of Botticelli's Madonna of the book. Beautiful painting, obviously.
Stunning, yeah.
But it wasn't just admired for the technique, it was honored because it powerfully taught the value of gentle maternal care.
Ah, I see. The message gets carried by the beauty.
Precisely. The argument is that the lesson itself, be a caring mother, might not sink in deeply on its own, but add the azure sky, their rich gold filigree, the sheer beauty.
And it lodges itself in your emotional memory.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Beauty helps the medicine go down.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the second tool?
Ritual.
Ritual, like ceremonies, traditions.
Exactly. Ritual is basically structured, repeated reinforcement of important ideas and values.
It turns abstract beliefs into actual habits.
Yes, it uses repetition, pageantry, maybe shared action to embed theoretical allegiances deep in our psychology. You might know intellectually you should be grateful, but a ritual like saying grace actually makes you practice it.
In modern secular society, we've kind of thrown out a lot of rituals, haven't we?
Been too hasty in ditching them, the sources suggest. We lost the repetition framework that helps combat that endemic forgetting.
This also seems to shift the goalposts for emotional health. We shouldn't be aiming for like a complete cure for our issues.
That seems unrealistic, yeah. The sources suggest aiming for consolation instead, accepting that life has unavoidable suffering, framing life maybe as a hospice rather than a
A
hospital.
hospice, meaning care and comfort within limitations, not expecting a magic cure.
Exactly. And similarly, forget aiming for perfect, flawless sanity. That's likely beyond us.
What's the alternative?
A more mature goal is what they call sane insanity.
Sane insanity. Okay.
It means achieving a knowledgeable, understanding, maybe even patient relationship with our own manifold insanities, recognizing our quirks, our neuroses, our irrational bits.
Without feeling we have to eliminate them entirely, just manage them better.
Yes. Knowing your own brand of craziness, essentially.
I also like how the sources treat melancholy. It's often seen as just bad, a problem to fix.
Right, like a disorder. But they praise it as potentially a noble species of sadness.
Noble because
Because it reflects a deep understanding of the tragic structure of existence. It's not delusion, it's insight. Sometimes feeling sad is the sanest response to reality. It's a vital part of being psychologically whole.
Okay, so it's not just about learning new skills. There's also the baggage we carry, right? Our past.
Oh, absolutely. The sources are really clear on this. Our emotional ignorance isn't just a lack of learning, it's deeply tied to our personal history.
We all have this emotional inheritance.
A complex, decisive one, yes, and it colors everything, distorts how we react to things now, in the present.
This is the idea of transfer, isn't it? Projecting the past onto the present.
That's the one. And it's almost unavoidable, they argue, because of how humans develop.
We spend so long with our parents. What was the number? 25,000 hours before age 18.
Something like that. And inordinately long and structurally claustrophobic pupillage is the rather evocative phrase used.
Claustrophobic pupillage, yeah. That intensity means we almost inevitably pick up some deep psychological injuries along the way. Primal wounds.
It's practically universal, yes. And we carry the templates formed by those wounds, those patterns of response into our adult lives.
And they mess things up. How we hear our boss's feedback, or why we react so strongly when our partner is quiet.
Exactly. We think we're reacting to the present situation, but often we're reacting to echoes of the past. Psychology even developed tools to try and reveal these hidden templates.
Like the Rorschach test, the ink blots.
Right. The ink blots themselves are meaningless, ambiguous.
But how you interpret them says everything about your inner world.
Exactly. Your interpretation is driven by your past. So the example given is someone with a kindly conscience might see a sweet mask.
Okay.
But someone who grew up, say, constantly criticized by a domineering father, they might look at the same ink blot and see a powerful figure poised for attack.
Wow. Same image, totally different reality based on your history.
The image itself doesn't matter. It's a screen onto which you project your own stuff. It's similar with the the thematic apperception test.
That uses pictures of situations, right? Also kind of ambiguous.
Yes, indeterminate scenes. Like two figures standing near each other. What's happening?
And your story depends on your baggage.
Totally. If your past involves supportive female relationships, you might see a mother and daughter mourning together.
But if your history is full of, say, workplace rivalry or jealousy,
then you might interpret the exact same picture as a jealous old crone undermining a talented young employee.
and the scary part is, we do this all the time in real life, don't we? Without the ink blots.
Constantly, with emails, with facial expressions, with silences. We write entire stories based on fragments, and those stories are usually directed by our past wounds. We assume our interpretation is objective fact.
When it's actually deeply subjective, shaped by our history.
Precisely. And that's why just knowing about your past isn't enough.
Right. Intellectually saying, yeah, I had a difficult childhood, or my dad was tough. That doesn't necessarily change anything. It's just the essay version, as the book calls it.
Exactly. It's descriptive, but maybe not transformative. To get real emotional understanding, the sources argue you need the novel.
The novel, meaning
Meaning you have to almost relive the feeling, access the original sorrow, the humiliation, the fear, as if it were happening to us today.
you have to remember the specifics, the tone of voice, the look on their face, the feeling in the room.
Yes, it's painful, obviously, but that deep emotional re-engagement is apparently the only way to really understand and begin to heal the wounds that are still driving your reactions in the present. Hashtag tag outro. So wrapping this up, I think the core message from our deep dive today is pretty clear. Emotional maturity isn't some kind of graduation certificate you get in your 20s.
No, definitely not.
It's an ongoing process. It requires continuous active learning, a real psychological curriculum, and not just for kids, but for all of us throughout our adult lives.
And it takes courage, doesn't it? To actually look at our own complexities, our pasts.
It really does. It means rejecting that tempting modern idea that not thinking about your inner life or pretending it's simple is somehow a sign of being sophisticated or strong.
So why should you, listening now, really care about investing in this? How does it connect to life today?
Well, think about how we often talk about modern problems, especially in wealthier societies.
Things we dismiss as first world problems,
Mm.
like anxiety, loneliness, lack of meaning.
Exactly. We tend to see them as trivial, maybe signs of being spoiled or oversensitive, but the sources offer a really provocative reframing of this.
Okay.
They suggest these aren't just unnecessary oddities happening in places like, say, Switzerland or Norway today. They're actually a glimpse into the future.
A glimpse into the future, how so?
Think about global development. If economic trends continue, basic material needs will eventually be met for more and more of humanity. And what happens then?
The problems shift from survival to meaning, from external struggles to internal ones.
Precisely. The psychological issues that seem like luxuries now, the deep anxieties, the search for connection, the need for purpose, those will become the central challenges for everyone, maybe in 300 years or so.
Wow. So our current first world problems are like a preview of humanity's future emotional landscape.
That's the argument. They're not trivial tantrums. They are the kinds of problems that arise when basic survival is handled. They're the next frontier.
Which means learning how to navigate them, now mastering emotional insight, mastering the skill of love, isn't just for personal benefit.
It's potentially practice for the entire species' future. If we don't get a handle on this stuff now, the issues we currently write off as the tantrums of the spoiled could become the defining, maybe crippling struggles for everyone down the line. Mastering ourselves emotionally is the essential task ahead.